Good evening and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. And as always, we're back with another massive show to bring you guys this evening. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're only 50 subscribers away from 20,800. So please do go and subscribe. We're on the road to 21k. Please do get involved. Lots and lots to get into on tonight's show. We're going to be talking about Manchester United's pursuit of a shock striker in the January transfer window. It is a name that we've talked about before, and we will talk about that a little bit later on into the show. We're also going to be talking about a story that's come out this afternoon saying that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is expecting to be in control of Manchester United, well, the 25% side of it, by this time next week. So we'll, of course, be talking about that. We'll be talking about the aftermath of the game against Copenhagen. Lots and lots of stories coming out about that. And we'll also be talking a bit about Raphael Varane, with Fabrizio Romano coming out, giving an update on Varane's future ahead of a potential move to Saudi Arabia in the January transfer window. As always, get involved in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss on today's show. And get involved. It doesn't cost any money to leave your comments, so please let me know your thoughts. How are you feeling about Manchester United at the moment? I always look forward to seeing what you guys have to say. So let's start the show off with the story about Raphael Varane. Now, this is coming out from Mr. Fabrizio Romano, one of my favourite transfer journalists in world football. And he is reporting this afternoon that there is nothing ongoing with regards to a move to Saudi Arabia for Raphael Varane. So I don't know what to make of that. I really don't. The thing is, right, what's weird with Varane? I really, really like him. He's one of my favourite players. I was so happy when we signed him, but I just think that when you've got somebody of that quality who can't stay fit, I think the fitness issues outweigh the quality, if that makes sense. Like, yes, he's a world-class centre-back on his day, but if he can only play one game a week at best, and even then, you know, you're thinking every time he gets fouled, you're thinking, is he going to be out for 2-3 months? I just don't think that's very sustainable, and I think that we do need to move him on. Obviously, Fabrizio's saying that at the moment there's nothing going on between him and Saudi Arabia, but he's not completely ruling out a move. I think that something will happen in the January transfer window. The fact that Raphael Varane is now the third choice centre-back behind Johnny Evans, he's not going to be happy with that, is he? He's a Champions League winner, he's a World Cup winner, and he's being benched for Johnny Evans. Is that the right decision? I'm not too sure, to be honest. Like, obviously, Varane's a better player than Johnny Evans, but I'll be honest with you, right? Johnny Evans, when he has played, I think he's been all right. I don't think he's really done anything wrong. He's not world class, let's be honest. And I don't think he's the level of a Manchester United player, Johnny Evans. But every time he has come onto the pitch, every time he has started alongside Maguire, I thought he's looked all right, to be honest. Like, he hasn't looked great, but he hasn't looked terrible. Whereas Raphael Varane, like, how many games has he even been available for this season? He seems to play a match and then be out for 3 games. So I don't really criticise Eric Ten Hag for too much for dropping Raphael Varane, because we saw what happened last night. Varane comes in after, 15-20 minutes, and he had an absolute stinker. He was terrible. So, I don't know. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you think that Varane should be being picked over Johnny Evans? Do you think this is a big issue from Eric Ten Hag's side? Or do you think this is the correct decision? Let me know what you guys think. Let's see what everyone's saying in the chat this evening. Where is the chat? There is the chat. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Fred, well, I hope you're doing well, Fred. Fred says, can't build an empire with injury-prone players, and Ten Hag knew this. I would agree with that. Somebody says, Varane is no longer a world-class defender. He has become nonsensical. Danny says, it's time to move Varane on. We need to have some younger, promising centre-backs coming in using this season as a transition to the next phase. Big miss that we didn't sign Kim Min-jae. I would 100% agree with you, mate. I would have loved to see Kim Min-jae. Lumen says, Kieran, when Varane is on the pitch, strikers fear him, but who will fear Johnny Evans? You know what, mate? I think that historically, yes, a World Cup winner, Champions League winner, but I think people think Varane's past his best now. I don't think people fear him anymore, to be honest with you. I really don't. But maybe you're right, maybe I'm wrong. I just don't really fear Raphael Varane anymore. Fred says, I think Varane has sounded out a possible move. I would agree with that. Daniel says Varane's ego was hurt after the Manchester derby. It's over for him now. Yeah, I would agree with you. As soon as you drop Rafael Varane for Johnny Evans, and then Erik ten Hag comes out after the game and says it was for tactical reasons, I think that's the end of the relationship between the player and the manager. And you know what? In some ways, I think Erik ten Hag is actually undoing the mistakes of the past. He's getting rid of these players who are on ridiculously high wages. You know, Varane's on 350 grand a week. He's 31 years of age. He's definitely not the player he was 4 or 5 years ago when he was winning Champions Leagues at Real Madrid. And I think that we do need to start getting rid of these types of people and bring in, you know, a John Claire Todibo, give him 50 to 100 grand a week. Like, we need to start doing things like that, bringing these younger profile players, giving them more realistic wages, because over time, that will massively help our financial fair play issue. We're in such a bad way financially because of the wages we give out. I'm just having a look now, right? John Claire Todibo's wage at Nice is only 22,000 euros per week. So say he comes to Manchester United, right, and you double his salary, that would only be around 40, 50 grand a week. When you compare paying him 40, 50 grand a week, and probably he's available for every single match, realistically, versus paying Rafael Varane 350 grand a week to be available for maybe 1 or 2 games a month. Like, it just shows where we've gone so wrong over the past. And I think that Erik ten Hag is trying to push out these players, these people who are world-class players, but maybe not anymore. And he wants to build a younger, more athletic squad. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I see it. And you know what? In some ways, I don't disagree with him. Chris says, look what Copenhagen did to us, playing these mentally inherent players will be lucky to finish mid-table. I would agree with you, mate. I think mid-table is probably realistic at this point. I think anywhere between 4th and 10th is a realistic. Richie says, you're contradicting yourself, getting rid of high-earning players, yet Rashford gets a new contract and has done nothing since. But that's different though, mate, isn't it? You know, Rashford has been given this contract because of his performances last season. Rashford is what, 25, 26, is still in his prime, if not even in his prime yet. Most people are in their prime about 27, aren't they? So he still technically isn't even in his prime. I think there's a big difference between Rafael Varane, a 31-year-old who literally had a terrible injury record in his last season at Real Madrid, versus giving Rashford a big contract. And the thing you have to remember with Rashford is as well, right? He is such a marketable asset for Manchester United. And we know that that's why they give out these stupid contracts to people like this, because we know that they sell shirts. We know that they bring in brand deals. We know, like, you know, his off-the-field charity work makes Manchester United look good. Yeah, so for me, I don't think you can compare Rafael Varane and Marcus Rashford, you know? And in some ways, if you do want to go on that argument, you could say, well, Manchester United did the right thing. Rashford would have been able to agree a pre-contract agreement this January, right? If they'd have not given him a new contract, he could have signed a contract with somebody else in January and gone for free. So whether you like Rashford or not, you know, at least we've retained his value. At least now we can try and potentially sell him if that's what you want to happen. Chris says, it's what this club does. You can't blame the players. Anthony was on 20k at Ajax and now he's on 200 grand a week. Yeah, exactly, mate. It's an absolute joke, isn't it? Michael says Johnny Evans is good on the ball and is also good in the air. I think he's been decent. Muaf says if Todibo is offered 50 grand a week, he will go to another big club and take 80 to 100. That's why we give high wages, but Man U do it over the limit with 350 grand a week wages. Callie says no, you're wrong. Rashford should not be paying 350 grand a week. Fair enough. Lumen says, Kieran, if Erik ten Hag can get us the results with Evans and without Varane, then there would be no debate. But no results will lead to Evans and Varane debate. That's fair enough. I get that. That makes sense. Sadiq says, I don't expect us to challenge for any Cups league, given that we have players like Scott, Evans and McTominay at United. Rashford is an English player, so he has different standards. Fair enough. Chris says, let's talk about why is the club complaining about number 7 shirt sales. So actually what was behind the Mount sale? I didn't know that they were complaining about that, but it doesn't surprise me. And Ruben says, we must get rid of overpaid and old players. We need defensive players who can run with the ball, who are fast and good in defence. Erik ten Hag, I'm fully behind you. And I agree with all that. I think we do. I think we need a massive... I honestly think, right? I honestly think that we need a complete reset again. I do. I think Erik ten Hag's the right man for the job. I just think that we don't have the right players. I think, you know, people like Varane, Donny van der Beek, you know, Scott McTominay, like there's probably about 5 to 10 of those players who I think definitely shouldn't be at Manchester United. And some of the ones that should be at Manchester United, I think are bench players at best. And I think that we're a long way away from having this squad that we all are dreaming of having. But let me know what you guys think about that. How many players... Answer me this question in the live chat. How many players away are we from challenging with Man City? Let me know in the comment section. Based on the team that started last night, I mean, based on what I saw, I thought we played all right last night, to be fair. But still, for us to be able to challenge with Man City, if we're looking at the team that started against Copenhagen last night, I would probably say we are. I mean, I would say Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans aren't good enough to be challenging with Man City. Diogo Dalot isn't good enough, I don't think. Eriksen and McTominay aren't good enough to challenge with Man City. I think Wan-Bissaka is just about, I would say. Bruno Fernandes, I would say, is. And I think Højlund is. Marcus Rashford, 50-50. And Garnacho, I think, is, but as a bench player. So I would probably say, like, from that defence last night, we need 3 defenders. We need 2 midfielders. We need another winger. We need 5 or 6 players, I think. And 5 or 6 world-class players. Like, I honestly think we maybe have 1 world-class player in our whole squad. And that would be Bruno Fernandes. So we're way off them. Let's see what else people in this chat. Fred says, please tell me why Erik ten Hag is the right man for the job. Because he got us 3rd place last season with this same set of players. He won us our first trophy in 6 years with this same set of players. He got us to the FA Cup final with this same set of players. He's earned trust in my bank. If we'd have finished 8th last season and we were playing and we were, in the position we are now, I would maybe be reconsidering it. But he got us 3rd, he won us a trophy, and he got us to a final in his first season. So that's why I think Erik ten Hag is the right man for the job. I think he does know what he's doing. I like his, the authority he seems to try and place over the players, and I think we're getting rid of those people with the wrong egos, with the wrong attitude, who think they're better than what they are. Let's see what else people... Lee says, I think we need 10 players. Muif says, do you think Amrabat will be signed? I don't know about Amrabat, to be honest with you. Is he really that good so far? I think he's been pretty average. I think averages is maybe even being a bit kind. I think he's been okay. I was excited about Amrabat. From all of the stuff I'd seen about him, I thought he looked decent. 27 years of age. I don't know. I'd say it's 50-50 at the moment. If Manchester United gave him a contract now, I would say that this is just a bit of a mediocre signing. And if they didn't, I wouldn't be upset either. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Do you think Manchester United should sign Amrabat on a permanent deal? If you think you should, let me know your reasons. If you think he shouldn't, then also let me know your reasons. Everybody who's just joined in the last couple of minutes, please do smash a like on the video. Let's try and hit 150 likes by the end of this video. And please do subscribe. We're only about 100 away from 21,000 subscribers. So please go and subscribe if you haven't already. Bottom right-hand corner. Doesn't cost any money. So please go and do that. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat. Somebody says, personally, I'm yet to be excited by Amrabat. I would agree with that. Andy says, not the manager's fault. The players have just given in like they did with Mourinho. I also agree with that. Chris says, Erik ten Hag is well respected amongst top managers in Europe would be another reason. Fair enough. I would agree with that as well. Right, let's talk about this striker then, because this is one that I really, really like. So this story's been reported by a couple of different journalists this afternoon, and the headline is this: Manchester United are exploring making a £10 million offer for Porto striker Taremi in January. It's believed that United could also offer him a wage of around 4.5 million euros per year. Erik ten Hag's objective is to sign an experienced centre-forward to take some of the responsibility off Højlund's shoulders, and Taremi fits the bill. I think this would be a good signing, I do. 31 years of age, had a very, very good record over in the Portuguese league. Obviously plays for the Iran national team as well. I remember he scored against England in the World Cup last year, didn't he? Very, very good goal-scoring record. Obviously, he is somebody for the present. He's not somebody for the future. But if we could get this deal done, I think for £10 million, I think that would be a good bit of business. Give him a 2 or 3 year contract. Obviously, as that story says, it would take a lot of the pressure off not off Erik ten Hag, off Rasmus Højlund. And I would be up for this. Obviously, everybody wants Victor Osimhen, those types of players, but spending 150 million in the January transfer window is never going to happen. Even if we had Qatar owning the club, you wouldn't see Victor Osimhen coming in January. You just simply wouldn't. So we've got to be realistic. I think he's a better player than Weghorst. I think he'll definitely get goals for us. Obviously, he's got experience in the Champions League as well. So if we do either qualify for the Champions League group stage, last 16, or if we go to the Europa, I think he'd be a valuable asset. But let me know in the comments, guys, would you like to see Taremi at Manchester United? Somebody's asking in the chat, what about Marcos Leonardo from Brazil? The Marcos Leonardo story's gone quite quiet at the moment, to be honest with you, mate. And I think Marcos Leonardo would cost us a little bit more than 10 million. So I think that's why that one has gone quiet. But obviously, if we get any news about Marcos Leonardo, I will, of course, let you know about that one. Right, let's move on to the next story, though. Let's talk about this Sergeant Ratcliffe news. So the headline coming out this afternoon is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe expects to be in charge of the football side of Manchester United by next week. It says Jim is aiming to be calling the shots by Monday. So literally within 3 days, apparently Sir Jim Ratcliffe will have the control of the Manchester United sporting side. Now, this hasn't been made official by the club, so we've got to wait and see what the official club line is. You know what? I've gone past the point of thinking that the Qataris are going to come back in. I just want there to be change. I want a new director of football to come in. I want to see Paul Mitchell. I want to see this Jean-Claude Blanc guy as the CEO, and David Brailsford obviously to kind of be overseeing it. I'm open to it now. We don't have any other option. The Glazers aren't going to sell all of the club. We just need to get the finite details put out in the open so we know exactly what's going on here. When Jim Ratcliffe will be able to buy all of the club, because that's the most important thing here. We want to know that there is a path to 100% ownership for Jim Ratcliffe, because otherwise I think it's going to, be question marks. Although I will say this, we've gone past the point of having any other option at this point. It's either Jim Ratcliffe or the Glazers stay. So we've just got to wait and see what happens with this one. But yeah, there's 2 or 3 different people today saying that it does look like he will be on top of the sporting side by next week. Florian says, do you think Mason Greenwood will come back? I would be very surprised if Mason Greenwood comes back, to be honest. Very, very surprised. Chris says, here's some news we've had. 2 of the majority Class A shareholders have come out and say they've heard nothing and never said they're selling their shares. Okay, well, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Let's see what else. Daz says Amrabat is not very good. Fair enough. Fred says, if we can't afford to get rid of the manager, where's the money for any transfers? The thing is, Fred, the manager situation, I don't know. I assume that you want the manager to go, which is obviously up to you. That's your opinion. But to get rid of a manager, right, he's owed about 20 million in wages. To bring in another top manager, because you don't want to see Darren Fletcher, sorry. I was just listening to Talk Sport, so I've got confused there. If you got rid of the manager, it's going to be Darren Fletcher till the end of the season, and I don't want that. I don't want Erik ten Hag to be sacked, and if he did be sacked, I would want there to be a world-class manager waiting to come in, and that simply isn't going to happen. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Nabil says, how... Sadiq says we need to get young, hungry players like Rooney and Ronaldo at United. I would agree with that. Andy says, I would rather finish 12th so the Glazers have to do a full sale. I never have counted out that the Qataris might come back. Aaron says, so you want another manager to sack? No, I'm 100% Erik ten Hag in. 100%. Danny says, we played some excellent football before the Rashford Red. What are you on Erik ten Hag about? I don't know what people are talking about of Erik ten Hag. I'm 100% Erik ten Hag in. I think even if we lost to Luton on Saturday, I would be Erik ten Hag in. I think he's the right man for the job. I think we've got a massive rebuild on our hands here. I think it's going to take 3, 4, 5 years before we're even in a conversation to be anywhere near the title, for me personally. I think, as I said, we probably need at least 6 or 7 first-team players to come into this squad to be anywhere near Man City. So, yeah. Lumen says, Kieran, your preferred manager would be... Lumen says, Kieran, your preferred manager to replace Erik ten Hag would be who? I mean, it's a hypothetical question, isn't it? I honestly don't know, is the answer. I don't know. Like, Zidane, really? I don't know. That's why I'm so, 100% on Erik ten Hag, because I genuinely believe he is the right man for the job. Genuinely. And I honestly, at this point in time, and I'm not even just saying this, I don't think I'd swap him with anybody else. Obviously, if Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp was available, or maybe like Carlo Ancelotti, maybe like those types of managers. But would I swap him for De Zerbi? No. Would I swap him for Zidane? No. Who else is there? Hansi Flick? No. Like, do you know what I mean? There isn't a manager. It's not like you have a Pep Guardiola waiting, begging for the job. I mean, who else is it going to be? Like Conte, Jose Mourinho. Like, these are all the types of names that would be linked. Let me have a look. Let me have a look at the odds. Next Manchester United manager. Okay. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the odds on the next Manchester United manager then, shall we? Because I know people... So the number one odds is Zinedine Zidane, Graham Potter, then it's the Sporting Lisbon manager, then it's De Zerbi, then it's Hansi Flick, Michael Carrick, Antonio Conte, Julian Lopetegui, Steve McLaren, Nagelsmann, Gareth Southgate. I mean, literally, from that list of managers, Zinedine Zidane, I'm not that convinced by. He did well at Real Madrid, but he's literally disappeared. He's like a ghost now. Graham Potter, definitely not. Sporting Lisbon manager, he might turn out good, but I don't really know that much about him. De Zerbi, no. Hansi Flick, again, I don't think so. Michael Carrick, definitely not. Conte, definitely not. Lopetegui, again, I think maybe for like a 6-month thing. Steve McLaren, definitely not. Nagelsmann, definitely not. Southgate, definitely not. Kieran McKenna, definitely not. Diego Simeone, that would be interesting. I would be quite interested in that, to be fair. That's probably who I would go with if I had to pick one, just for argument's sake. Again, I 150% want Erik ten Hag to stay, but I've been asked the question, who would I get if Erik ten Hag was gone? And yeah, I would go with Diego Simeone. And the reason I would do that is because I want another manager to come in who's just going to give all of these players who think they're better than they are a peace of mind and just literally put them in their place. And I don't think a lot of those other managers would do that. But yeah, let's see what else people are saying in the chat quickly. But yeah, that's the list of the favourites to take over the Manchester United job if he's sacked. I mean, that just sums it up for me. Like, do you genuinely want any of those players? Fred says, is it because there's no replacement you're sticking with him, Kieran? I guess so, yeah, in some ways. I think he is the right man for the job, but I also don't think there's a better replacement out there. So yeah, I guess it is partly that. As I said, if there was a manager of Pep Guardiola's quality, available, not at a club, begging for the job, maybe my opinion would be different, you know? But there isn't. It's like, it's all just people that I don't even think would succeed at Manchester United. So what's the point? It just seems completely pointless. I mean, the 11th on this list is Thomas Frank from Brentford. Like, that's what we're working with here. So for me, it's a definite no. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Obviously, it's a hypothetical question. You know me on this channel 100% wants Erik ten Hag to stay. But if Erik ten Hag was to go, say we lost against Luton and a new manager was to come in, who would you go for? Fred says Xabi Alonso. Yeah, I mean, he's doing very well at Bayern Leverkusen, isn't he? Top of the Bundesliga. I don't think he's lost a game yet. Yeah. Let's see what else people are saying. Chris says Hansi Flick is the same as Erik ten Hag. The players would hate him. Daz says Simeone just renewed his contract. Yeah, lots of people saying that. What else we got? Yeah, I agree with Digital Sports Update here. I don't know why everyone's first thought is, you know, sack a manager. Like, why? You only should sack a manager if there's genuinely somebody better available. And there isn't. There isn't somebody better available. I honestly would not take any of those managers that I've just read out instead of Erik ten Hag. Gareth Southgate, really? Steve McLaren, really? Conte, really? Michael Carrick, really? Robert De Zerbi, not convinced. Graham Potter, like, these are the people that would be linked to the Manchester United job. And you seriously want a man out who's in the middle of probably the most difficult rebuild in world history in any club, and you want to bring in one of these names. I mean, it's just laughable for me, and that's why I'm sticking with Erik ten Hag, and I'm not going to change on that. Lumen says, Kieran, didn't we all believe that Erik ten Hag was similar to Simeone in strictness when he came, only to mild down for some reason? I think Erik ten Hag is strict. I do. Andy says fans who want Ollie back obviously know nothing about football. I mean, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came back, that would be absolutely awful, wouldn't it? I would hate that. Black Hole says Simeone would face the same issues as Ragnick for calling them out. Exactly, mate. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. But I'm going to wrap the show up here, guys. I feel like we're going around in circles a little bit. Yeah, please do make sure to smash a like on the video before you go, everybody. And please do subscribe to the channel, bottom right-hand corner. We're very, very close to 21,000 subscribers, so please do get involved. Doesn't cost any money. I will be back at 8:30 a.m. UK time. If anything breaks between then and now, as always, I will go live. So make sure you hit the notification bell. One more question quickly. Irvin says, Kieran, if we were to sack Erik ten Hag, what would you do with his book? That's a good question. What would I do with his book? I mean, it depends on what the sacking is like, doesn't it? If he loses 20-0 to Luton on Saturday, the book's going to be burnt. No, I'm joking. I wouldn't do that to him. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I'll catch you all tomorrow morning. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a nice evening, day, morning, wherever you are in the world. And I'll speak to you at 8:30 a.m. UK time tomorrow. Speak later.